Okay, so this is the first time I've ever seen a Rivian in person. First off, these wheels and tires are massive, and I have a feeling that has to do with a lot of the regenerative braking that is needed. This Frunk area is pretty cool. I do think that is a really cool feature. One thing I have noticed though is this has been an incredibly popular vehicle that a lot of people have been looking at all day. Just putting my hand here, it's very warm, and then it kind of started making me curious. This right here is actually very warm to the touch right here, and I'm really kind of wondering why, considering the fact that you know, it is an electric vehicle, so it must be on the whole time. But it kind of reminds me of like the cell phone electronic kind of use, where if it's not being used but it's plugged in, it still has to draw the power. It's very kind of different than a normal car with just like a battery that runs auxiliary power. I'm sure that would be hot to the touch, but it just kind of makes me curious. So that I found that was interesting. One of the cool features of the Rivian though too is this cargo area just behind the passenger door. That is a tunnel that does go all the way through to the other side, and you can open up that side as well. So I have seen camping accessories that can go in here. So if you wanted to take your Rivian camping, you could do so by putting a whole camp stove sink into this compartment. I'm gonna go ahead and jump in then. Once you're closed, I guess you can kind of pull, and that is kind of nice. It does have a very manual latch feel to open up the door. The materials are pretty nice. The buttons are also pretty solid, and that does actually work right now. So I can actually slide that window down or up, which is pretty cool. Can adjust the seats. Has nice leather interior. Let's go ahead and hop in. Okay, I actually literally just tried to get in and I failed miserably. So I'm gonna slide that seat all the way back. Let's see if I can slide that all the way down. And I'm gonna try to stick my 6'4" leg in here, and I hit. What is up with that? Okay, hold on. So maybe I can adjust the steering wheel. Maybe I'll have to adjust the steering wheel when I get in, but this is a large stretch. And look, okay, so there's my torso. I can't actually get in based on the center or the console, the dash. So I gotta go lower and then slide in. Okay, I didn't try to make that harder than what it needed to be, but just naturally on how I get into vehicles, that took away my natural entry and exit. I have a feeling the reason why it was so warm up front is that the climate controls are on and it is set to 62 degrees. It is actually freezing in here. Like, this is super cold to the touch, and I can feel some sort of air blowing from somewhere. So that must be what's happening. It does have a split center console. Wow, that is electronically opened and closed. That's kind of interesting. There are some USB-C charging ports in there, which is kind of cool. And again, let's see if I can, okay, yeah, it seems like it has an electronic open. Up here, we've got a very solid feeling steering wheel. The windshield wiper and turn signal stock does have a nice feel to it as well. There are some buttons here, they have good feel. The digital instrument cluster is kind of nice. Does look like it has a lot of stuff going on right now, which kind of makes sense. And then I guess it's looking at our range efficiency. Not quite sure what that graph is trying to show, but it's kind of cool. We have the infotainment system as well as climate control. So I'm going to guess that if I were to take this and turn it off, that would be ideal. There we go. Okay, so there are multiple ports, and that's interesting. Up top, we've got a light. We've got some sensors of some sort. I don't feel any buttons on the rear view mirror. You can slide the visor down. There are lights on the mirror there. And this is a pure panoramic roof, which is kind of cool. Not quite sure if that's, okay, that's just kind of like a feature set that doesn't look like a light or anything like that. The console doesn't, oh, okay, there's some cup holders. That's actually kind of cool. So if you push that in and out, that's kind of nice. Okay, that's ideal. So there's the VIN, which is actually kind of cool. And if you're ever looking for a Rivian, or you find one on the aftermarket someday, or secondary market, this truck was at the St. Louis Auto Show, just so you all know. It gives you the interior and all the features there. Let's go ahead and go to all-purpose. Looks like we've got some modes right there. Cameras, well, that's kind of fun. Okay, let's see if we can change that. Up and below. Let's see if we got that. Okay, it's got some front tire views. Front view, rear view. Okay, wow, that's a really interesting bunch of features. Let's go ahead and go to the truck again. Music, I guess it's the radio. Navigation tells us where we're at. That's very close. All right, overall not too bad. I'll hop in the back seat and see how that is. All right, jumping in the back seat of the Rivian. I did have that at the place that I would want it. It's actually really hard to get into. There are no running boards on this particular one. Oh, ow, I just hit my head. That is much taller than I anticipated. I also have no room, and maybe I could have scooted the seat up just a little bit, but it would not scoot up enough to be able to fit me, that is for sure. Because I was already struggling to fit, and even if I had put that in a place where I would sit a little bit better in the front, there's no way it would move 2 to 3 inches difference for my knees to fit. So that is a no-go for me on the Rivian in terms of fitting in the back, which is kind of a disappointment. Most of these large trucks that it's sort of competing against in terms of crew cabness have ample space in the back seat that my 6'4" frame can fit in. So it's kind of a bummer. Let's see if they've got, okay, they do have a center console though back here, which is nice, with some storage. That's also cool. And cup holders. I was trying to forget, I don't remember if there is access to the pass-through in this particular vehicle or not. I think there is, so that's kind of cool. But overall, my impressions of the Rivian, not bad, but definitely not people moving. So it must be better for cargo use or things like that, because I can barely fit in the front and the rear at the same time. And so if you have 4 large adults, they're probably not going to fit comfortably in this vehicle. And there's the charge port for it, which I had to be shown where that was because I had no idea. This thing's pretty slick.